are doing the welt pocket, you want to figure out your placement on your front sock piece. And you know, everybody's got their preference about which way the stocking will hang, so just make sure you pay attention to that before you start cutting up your fabric and sewing on your pocket. So take your pocket bag and fold it in half at that short corner and figure out which one is the longer side. That longer side is going to be the back of your pocket. So then you're going to lay it on top of your stocking, and what you want to do is kind of make sure that however you're placing it, wherever you're placing it on here, that that pocket bag is going to fit. It's not going to get sewn apart when you stitch your front and back sock together. So I think for me, I like it right about there. So I'm just going to use this to kind of mark my place here of about where I want that to go. And then I am going to take something to mark it and just kind of draw a line there. Just faint enough to where you can see. If you've got, you know, chalk or whatever, use that. And I've got a little line here. I'm not sure if you can see that. And then you're going to take your welt pieces and you're going to fold them in half. Mine's leather, so I can't really press it, but I do recommend, if you're not using something like leather, that you press it. And you're going to line up the raw edges right at that marking that you made and pin your piece to the stocking. Okay, so now that I've got this welt piece pinned in place, I'm going to take my other welt piece, fold that in half, wrong sides together, and line up those raw edges up to the other one. Pin that in place. Okay, now that I have my welt pieces pinned on to my sock, I'm going to take my sewing machine and I'm going to start about a ½ inch in, and I'm going to stitch right down the middle and stop about ½ inch from the end on both the top and bottom welts. Now that I have my welts stuck on, I stopped a little bit from the edge. We're going to cut start about an inch away from the end of those stitches and cut down the center to about an inch away from the end of those stitches, and then you're going to cut a triangle up to your stitches but not through them, and cut a triangle up to those stitches but not through them on both ends. Okay, and I've cut, and you can see a little bit better from the back. There's a triangle at both ends of those stitches and they stop right at my stitches. So the next step is going to be to pull the bottom welt through like this, and then you're going to turn it over and just see how that looks. Make sure you get these corners to pop through, and you'll see that that looks pretty good. So then we're going to flip that back over. We're going to get our pocket bag. And again, we're going to find that shorter end, which is this side. And we're going to want this to sit this way, right? So fold this down, and we want to then take right sides together. Again, this is our short end. And line it up with the raw edge of that welt. And you can either pin it or clip it right here all the way down along those raw edges. And then what you're going to do once it's pinned and it's clipped is you're going to stitch from one side all the way down to the other, going on top of these stitches that you already have here without catching the sock in the stitch on either end. Okay, so I've stitched all along that pocket piece and the welt, right along top of those stitches that were already there. So if you pull this down, you've got a nice looking pocket on the inside so far. This will be the inside of your pocket. If you pull this around to the front of your stocking, you have Get those little triangles out of the way again. A very nice looking bottom half of your welt pocket. So now we're going to do the same thing with the top, where you're going to tuck the top welt towards the back side of your sock. And then you'll get to see this is what it will look like when you're all finished. Just that nice little double welt. So fold this back over. All of this is all nice and tucked out. Take the other side of your welt, the bottom, take the bottom part of your welt pocket, the bottom part of your pocket bag, fold it up and align it with the raw edges on the top welt all the way down, and you're going to repeat what you had done before. You are going to, there's your raw edges, stitch from one end to the other on top of those existing stitches without catching your fabric on either side of the pocket. Okay, so you have your welt pieces sewn on. You had the upper one sewn on right along the top of the existing stitches that were there. Now you see I've got this all clipped. You flip it over to the front side and you pull back either of the edges. You'll see the same thing on both sides. You'll have that triangle tab. You'll have your two welt pieces butted up next to each other, and you've got your pocket bag all over here. So you're going to clip or pin these together, and then you're going to stitch from top to bottom, being sure to get as close to the edge of this triangle as you can without catching too much of this fold fabric in there. Just close that up nice and tight. And if you're using frayable fabrics and you think at some point you might want to wash your stockings, I highly suggest finishing your raw edges using a serger or a zigzag stitch. You can see I've got that stitched together right at the base of that triangle. And when I open, it's got a nice clean finish around those edges. So, said and done, there's your pocket.